We just heard from the president there. He says that the electoral process was rigged. We know that just a couple of weeks ago, the FBI confirmed that Russia and Iran obtained US voter information. How likely is it that this impacted votes?
Yeah, hi, Gabrielle. It's really interesting. And when we look at the election, I think we need to look at it from two perspectives. One is integrity of the voting technology, and that is the machines where people go to vote. The other one, and the real interesting part, is the integrity in what I'd call information streams. There's the FBI, amongst other agencies, have been calling out for some time. China, Russia, and other states have been gaining voter information and trying to alter what may be their vote or get them to maintain their vote, depending on which side of the coin they really want to do. And it's been acknowledged in some circles that China is more interested in a Biden win, whereas Russia is more interested in a Trump win. So they're almost playing against each other in these information flows.
The election is just so tight. Is there any way of proving that a possible misinformation campaign influenced this?
I think that'll be the job for the wrap-up over the next 12, 18, 24 months, because I think we need to get to the bottom of it, not just for this election, but for future elections globally, including here in Australia. And for the first time, the technology people behind the voting integrity of the machines actually reached out to the social media companies to include them in their risk management plans. And that's where the amplification, depending on which side and which voice you have, is really best done, is through your mainstream social media platforms and the responsibility that they have, making sure there's not that proverbial fake news.
Donald Trump has been, I suppose, attacking the polls that were not correct. He says that they were used as a suppression tactic as opposed to keep Republican voters back at home. I suppose thinking that there'd be no point in voting if Donald Trump was going to lose so badly. What do you make of what he had to say? Could it have been used as a suppression tactic?
I don't think it has at all. And you could argue the other way, that it might get Republicans thinking, well, if there's going to be this potential landslide, I'd actually better get out and make sure I vote and to levy it up. Clearly, the polls weren't on the money, just like they weren't on the money with 2016. And I think the problem with a lot of the polling that I've read coming out of the US, it's general polling. It's not state-by-state polling. It's, across the whole national average. And we all know it's not one election over there. There's many, many elections within elections. So, a lot of people live and breathe by the polls. And I think, again, for future elections, we need probably some new rules of the road about what it means to poll. There's polls that come out with a sample size of only 1,000 people, yet, it shows a trend and people get on board that trend. We need some substance behind that sort of push polling.
I want to talk to you about hacking. It's been confirmed that there was no technical hacking. Does this surprise you, or electoral systems just extremely well protected?
Yes, it surprises me, and no, they're not well protected. Well, they're in the US, they're protected well enough. It's a funny system how it works over there. There's still, we've got all the problems as we're hearing now. It'll go through the courts on the mail-out voting. The perceived problems, I should put that into perspective. But they still use punch cards in a lot of places. There's still a lot of paper-based throughout the whole US economy and a range of things they do. But I think it's great. And there was a lot of resources that came out of the federal level to the local and state level. Things like giving out funding to have local machines penetration tested by security experts to make sure there could be no technical offending. And I think that's great they did that. They spent billions of dollars, but, they got the result they wanted. And it's, dare I say, one less court case that doesn't need to proceed afterwards.
So it surprises you that there wasn't any technical hacking, but do you think there will be in the future?
I think every election globally from now on, wherever there's technology, you're going to have particularly nation states that are going to have a go. And I don't think that should dissuade us from electronic voting. I'm actually pro electronic voting. I think that can enable a lot of democracy. And in Australia, we need to be looking at it and taking the naysayers and the fear and the uncertainty of doubt out of the argument and looking at how we can authenticate people, how we can identify people so that they don't need to go to a polling place and can vote just off their mobile smart device.
Well, I suppose we wouldn't be having a debate about voter fraud if we had electronic voting, right?
That's exactly right. We wouldn't worry about where a mail out may or may not have gone to, let alone where its intended address was. And I like to think pretty simply, we can get online banking right, and that's about as secure as we can get. Surely we can do our MyGov and our health records online. It's just a logical extension when it comes to voting.
How far away do you think we are from electronic voting?
Decades. There is no, unfortunately, there is no political will on either side. And, you know, whether it's just the machinery of government or the machinery of political parties that drives it into the ground, that we can't scrutiny, we don't know what's going on, the fear of the unknown. I really don't know what is stopping it, but we have amazing technology. We have amazing, as I said, for banking, for our MyGov records, for when we deal with the tax department online, they authenticate us via voice recognition. This technology exists, and it should be allowed to be an opt-in in the first instance, and then over time we transition to it being, you know, the norm.